This is CNN Breaking News.
Welcome to the lead. I'm Jake Tapper. We begin with breaking news. A blizzard of news in Washington, D.C. right now. This afternoon, the White House on defense, spending a huge part of today's daily briefing insisting that President Trump did not use a racial slur when he stood among American heroes, Navajo code talkers from World War II, and referred to a senator as Pocahontas.
You were here long before any of us were here. Although we have a representative in Congress who they say was here a long time ago. They call her Pocahontas. But you know what? I like you because you are special.
Pocahontas is a slur that the president has long used to refer to Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, who has controversially claimed to Native American ancestry. Here's how Senator Warren responded to that remark just seconds after.
It is deeply unfortunate that the President of the United States cannot even make it through a ceremony honoring these heroes without having to throw out a racial slur. Look, Donald Trump does this over and over, thinking somehow he's going to shut me up with it. It hadn't worked in the past. It is not going to work in the future.
So all of that, while at the same time a power struggle erupted over who runs a government agency, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That's a debate that heads to court in just minutes, and we expect to hear from both Democrats and Republicans in this grim, dysfunctional showdown. Not to mention, of course, President Trump continuing to step up his attacks on the free press and journalists all over the world as the probe into his campaign team by the FBI and Special Counsel Robert Mueller seems to get closer and closer to the president's inner circle. We're going to start with CNN's Boris Sanchez. He's at the White House. Boris, Senator Warren has claimed Native American ancestry, and many Native American groups have taken issue with that. But those same Native Americans find this slur, calling her Pocahontas, inappropriate. How is the White House defending this?
Well, Jake, Sarah Sanders said from the podium that calling Elizabeth Warren is not a racial slur. As you mentioned, it is a nickname that the president has used often when describing the senator from Massachusetts, dating back to June of last year when Elizabeth Warren was on the campaign trail with Hillary Clinton. Warren claimed Native American heritage during her own campaign for Senate back in 2012, and she was attacked by Republicans for allegedly making up her heritage for political gain. Today, Sarah Sanders reiterated that allegation, saying that Elizabeth Warren lying about her ancestry is offensive, not the president calling someone Pocahontas in front of these Native American war heroes. I should also mention, in front of a portrait of Andrew Jackson, who made persecution of Native Americans American policy back in the 1800s. Here's a bit more of what Sarah Sanders said today.
Or anybody else. This is a racial slur, so why is it appropriate for him to use
I think,
that?
like I said, I don't think that it is, and I don't think that was certainly not the president's intent.
Does he see
I think, again, like I said, I
in-
think the more offensive, the most offensive thing.
Racially?
I'm sorry?
Does he see political value in calling people out racially? Why use that?
Look, I think that Senator Warren was very offensive when she lied about something specifically to advance her career. I don't understand why no one's asking about that question and why that isn't constantly covered.
It's not really a mystery why Elizabeth Warren is top of mind right now, Jake. She was one of the architects of the CFPB, and this weekend argued that the president was overstepping his bounds by intervening and naming Mick Mulvaney the director of that consumer watchdog agency. She argued over the weekend on Twitter that this should be brought up in court. And now Leandra English, the woman that was named to be the deputy director and the de facto director once the original director stepped down on Friday, is actually going forward with that, Jake.
All right, Boris Sanchez at the White House. Thank you so much. My panel's with me. Kevin, let me start with you. Should Republicans call the president out when he calls Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, or is the explanation that he is trying to call attention to the controversy about Warren's heritage? Is that enough of an explanation?
No, I think they should call him out. I think it creates a huge distraction for these members. So I think members of Congress, and I think they quickly want to move on to something more substantive. I think one of the big problems here is that the president thinks in a way of his stream of consciousness or just his inner monologue 99% of Americans would never say something like that, and he actually blurts it out at an event like this, and it causes a huge distraction. So I think members should call it out when they have the opportunity, but they are just sick and tired of having to deal with these type of distractions.
What do you think, Jen? I mean, obviously, there is this controversy about Senator Warren and her heritage, and that came up during her Senate race. She was still victorious. But this is a slur. I mean, Native Americans, I know, consider this a slur.
That's right. And that's the most important audience to determine whether it's a slur or not, is the audience it's about. And I don't think that President Trump or his spokesperson saying it's not a racial slur makes it not a racial slur, to state the complete obvious. So in this case, look, should Senator Warren have known more about her heritage and shared accurate information? Of course. But that is a debate from years ago. And now we're talking about bringing up a slur that offends an entire population of the public.
One other thing, and I don't know if this was in Veep or House of Cards, but there was a scene mocking an insensitive president. I think it was House of Cards, in which he invited a bunch of Native Americans into a room, and there was a portrait of Andrew Jackson, who was reviled by Native Americans for the horrific things he perpetrated on their people. And this actually took place, today took place in front of a portrait actually, we have to break away right now. Mick Mulvaney, the acting director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, is speaking. Let's take that live.
Stay open.